Hey everyone, this is Daniel. This is this week's development log for Sequence Storm. I'm gonna do updates and stuff later. First, though, if you like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff, because I'm only doing this because I want feedback, especially for this feature that I'm gonna show you today. The only way that I know that I'm not talking into the void is if you do interact things, This feature I'm showing you, I'm building off of the track that I showed last week. This track is Shelter by Porter Robinson and Medion. I don't know who that is, but it doesn't belong to me. Again, I'm building off this track that I started last week based off of Yamero's track that's in the Steam Workshop. So this feature is these, I'm trying to get right into it, these yellow arrows that you see, and there's this one right in front of us. And when you hit these, you're supposed to steer. Like, the autopilot turns off and you're supposed to steer in the direction. And I'm just going to autoplay through this, because the feature, first of all, the graphics, the gameplay, it's all completely busted right now. I don't know how this is going to look in the end, but let's just autoplay it, and you'll see how the autoplay kind of steers through these. So through these, you would just tap to steer left or right. And this one right here, this one is not going to work, because like I said, the implementation, it's all busted. You're going to see it. Ideally, like, you'd have to like tap back and forth, but it doesn't quite work. So basically what we've seen so far is that there's these yellow lanes on the track. Again, I don't even know what I'm calling these yet, and if you have an idea, like, comment below. I don't know what to call them yet. So the examples we saw so far were just required a tap in steering back and forth, and it caused the player to move, kind of juke back and forth, just adding more motion and interest. And I'll talk about the more intentions later, but let's just continue to autoplay this. So in that section you saw it was instead of like a juke, instead it was like we went through a wavy turn. And so another thing that I want this for is to add kind of more of an analog element. And so you wouldn't have to steer exactly through this wave. If you just if you generally follow the line, it will kind of automatically guide you. And so we'll do that again. And so in that, it's adding more of an analog feeling element to the game. And then right here, something about this is that these can happen at the same time as other rhythm controls. And that's what this is trying to demonstrate. Like, the lane shows up, it's just straight until it jukes off at the end. So you see, this is you'll be able to steer, but it's part of the rhythm gameplay, and that's one of the points of this. Is I'm trying to combine like the rhythm and the racing and the rig and the steering, make it all make a little bit more sense. And that this is another reason why I want like a new kind of game mode where you always see the player's rig. I'm trying to solve a problem where just I think it was Larga, someone said, like, just all the new 2.0 changes, they make the game just a lot more funner to look at. And this is another one of those changes. It's just trying to get the game to look funner. Now, I think I've kind of showed you, this example has a bunch of rapid fire examples, and like with all the other 2.0 stuff, you can use this to make like an unreadable mess. And ideally we won't do that, but I kind of want to talk about how this is really going to play. You won't have to steer accurately through these things. So like on that wavy line back and forth, the way it works is if you are generally steering in the right direction, it will kind of keep you on track. And in fact, the issue with actually playing it, I'll try. Nope. Is that the implementation isn't done, so I have to autoplay through these. But the intention is that obviously these lanes, they're involved with the music and the track, but they're not timing based. If you stay on the lane as it moves back and forth, you will succeed at it. You don't have to hit the steering key on time at all. In fact, you don't have to hold it even through the entire, like on these short ones, as long as you just tap the right direction at any point in time, just to keep yourself from steering straight off. I don't know if you can see my mouse cursor. As long as you did just tap the right direction at some point, it's supposed to have a very analog feel. Because right now, all the rhythm controls, they're very digital, but I'm trying to add something with like a cool, fun, like analog feeling. So for these ones here, it doesn't require a tap. There's no timing judgment. You just have to, at some point, before you go off the line, tap in the right direction, and it'll kind of automatically keep you on. So I don't want you to think like, oh, I have to steer so accurately through this path. There's going to be a lot of help getting through. So let's go. So for this squiggly line, if you just tap basically generally in the right direction, at least it doesn't work now, but that's the intention, is that you'll just automatically stay online. And then on at this point here, which we got to later, there's kind of a this line here, it kind of while you're pressing these other buttons, it kind of goes back and forth slowly. And again, you'll just have to tap once or twice just to kind of maintain keep you on the line. You won't have to like accurately steer through. I think that's going to cause it to kind of feel really fun. I hope. And that's why I'm doing this. I don't know yet. I'm still developing it, and I want like feedback. I want people to tell me like, hey, that looks fun, or wow, you're retarded, that looks so dumb. And then in this next section, it kind of shows how it can interact with cylinders and stuff. The track here is a cylinder, and as we go back and forth, we're spinning around. So I think that's looks cool, and there you can just immediately think of so many different ways that you can use this. Let me make sure I've talked about all my actual intentions of the game mechanic. Number one, we're adding just more motion to the game. We're moving back and forth. We're seeing the player actually move around, and that's a big complaint I've had from people who see footage of the game. They're like, what is the player doing? I don't get it. Especially people who aren't familiar with rhythm games. They're like, I don't get it. And this will cause, if you're looking at the game, you'll see the player moving back and forth. Number two is to add more, like an analog feeling element to the gameplay. Number three, I'm better integrating the racing and the rhythm. Like there's a rhythm gameplay element that actually uses the player's rig. And that's important because if I'm going to try to sell like rig skins and stuff like that, I want this rig to be on screen all the time. I want to incorporate it into all the gameplay. Yeah, that's basically like the why I'm trying to add a new game. And also, I want to add something that isn't in any other game, as far as I can tell. There's other possibilities. I've only showed you a little bit. Right, in all these examples, this little yellow lane is pretty narrow, but I could change the width, be able to script like the width of the lane, make it really wide or short, narrow, not short. I was also thinking like, what if there were sections of the track where the autopilot is just turned off, and you have to steer, and maybe there's some kind of targets, I don't know, boost pads that you have to hit, or other kind of obstacles you have to avoid, because these are all elements in racing games that I can kind of bring over if I want to bring this like steering mechanic into the game, right? And one, so the controls. Let's talk about the controls a little bit. On a gamepad, it's pretty obvious how it would work. You just steer back and forth with a thumbstick, or with an arcade-style controller. Which, you know what, mine fell off this that was gifted to me fell off my table in the stupid knob. But I think I can fix this. Like, anyway, I think it's fixable, but I accidentally knocked it off the table, which is annoying because someone gave that to me. But anyway, the only place where it might get awkward is with keyboard controls, because you steer right now with D and F, and it would make a little more sense to change the steering keys up to the zigzag controls, E and R, or U and I don't know. We'll see how that pans out. And like I said, these lines can have other rhythm controls happening at the same time. So what if I have zigzags happening at the same time? Do you have to juggle hitting zigzags and stuff with the other, or steer with the other thumbstick or something? I don't know. These are all questions that I haven't answered yet. This is kind of like why I'm asking you guys, like, what do you think could happen? And also, there's no audio cues for these right now. Obviously, I'd have to add that. And that's it. That's the new feature. I think that's basically all it is. So to recap, it's these yellow lanes that cue you to prompt you to steer left to right. Kind of the center of the track, as you can see, can be authored to move back and forth. It's not done yet because that doesn't work. That's it. And there's all different ways it can be used, like in a wavy analog way or a juke to the left or right. I think that's the feature. I think I covered everything. And then updates. I don't have many updates. I'm pretending like I have a lot to say, but one thing I want to do before I release before I even finish this, I want to work on an actual DLC. And I talked about maybe going free to play. I'm gonna do this before that. I want to finish 5 new tracks. I've got lots of tracks in various states of completion, but I want to finish 5 of them. And I want to add 5 tracks, probably 5 new missions to the first campaign. Come up with some other like bonuses that I would include with that. That's going to happen before I think I even finish this game mechanic. I don't want to introduce a new mechanic into the first campaign anyway, because there's no tutorials for how to do it and stuff like that. Also, it's almost like there's so many game mechanics already that to learn like in that first part of the game, like I don't want to add more now. Yeah, so I do want to finish up all the 2.0 features that I showed last week and build a new DLC based on that stuff. I think that's it. I think I rambled my way through this, but hopefully through showing you and talking about it, you kind of get what I'm doing with this game mechanic. So I think that's it. I don't know, like the video, type a comment. Please tell me what you think, because I'm really doing this so that I can get feedback. So please do all that stuff. And I will talk to you next week. Thank you. Bye.